Do you dream like I do?
Moving on from Medicare and those types of programs, or I guess maybe a cousin to Medicare and one that everybody wants to talk to is Social Security.
Yes. I call them kissing cousins, Medicare and Social Security.
There's a West Virginia joke, but I'm not going to make it. A lot of times when people come in my office, of course, they're thinking about income and retirement income, and the first part of the conversation is always about when do I take Social Security? You know, if it's somebody, obviously, if they're in their mid to late 60s, that decision's likely been made. But the conversation centers around what makes the most sense. Should I do it when I can do it immediately at 62, or what about my majority at 66 or 67? But I know if I wait till I'm 70, there's a roll up there of 7 or 8% or whatever the number is. And gosh, if I only knew when I was going to die, that'd be really helpful. And then you can see the hand wringing starts and the exasperation about, I've got this finite window of life ahead of me, and I'm going to be really mad if I don't soak Social Security for every dime I got coming.
Maximum possible
withdrawal. So, Scott, I'm going to need you to tell me, A, when I'm going to die, and B, which option I should take. Generally the answer to that is if you keep on about this, you're going to die sooner rather than later. No, I'm just kidding. But you have a lot of experience in that area, and it kind of goes hand in hand because Medicare and Social Security are, as you said.
Yeah, it's my same demographic. It's the same box I play in.
Yeah. So what would you say the top 2 or 3 questions people ask you about Social Security and taking it? And maybe sidebar is, how does that dovetail with Medicare?
Right. So it doesn't dovetail, so to speak, with Medicare. They're 2 completely independent decisions.
Gotcha.
About the only place they commingle a little bit is if you're on Social Security benefit, when you turn 65, Medicare will automatically enroll you in Medicare and send you your card.
Okay.
That's about the only place they commingle a little bit. The number one question I get is, when should I turn it on? And you've already answered that question. If you can tell me when you're going to die, I can put together the ideal time to do it. Absent of that information, all I do is just steer and guide the decision and the consequences thereof. Do I wait? Do I turn it on? We always want to remember that if I'm dealing with the husband, and I hate to paint with a broad brush, who may be the larger wage earner, he didn't take time off to raise the kids and keep the house from burning down. So he might have a higher income.
You've met your politically correct obligations. Go ahead.
Met my PC. So if he's got the higher income, he's got the higher benefit, and maybe the spouse is a couple years behind.
Yeah.
He needs to realize there's a higher probability his benefit will turn into a survivor benefit. When he dies, it'll pass to her because it's the larger of the 2. So if he waits until 70 and gets that full roll-up you mentioned, the 8%, it's not only higher for him, but now it's a larger, longer window where she's going to be getting it.
Right. Gotcha.
So there's really no secret formula. We can't just ask questions and say, okay, do this, because you heard me say during the Medicare discussion, value is subjective. The only thing I tell people is don't turn it on because you think it's going away.
Right.
Because a lot of people say that. I'm taking my benefits as soon as they're available because Social Security Trust Fund is empty and they're going to implode. The world's going to hell in a handbasket. I need my benefit now.
Yes.
That's not a good reason to turn on your Medicare benefit.
No.
Your Social Security benefit. Social Security is going to change for sure. It has to.
Yeah.
They got to extend the retirement age.
Yep.
When Social Security came out, it was available at age 65.
Why?
Life expectancy was 65.
Yes.
So maybe somebody will be on it for a couple of years.
Right. Nobody was supposed to get this money.
No.
Yeah.
Now a healthy 65-year-old.
Now look what we've done.
A healthy 65-year-old has a high probability of getting well into their 90s.
Yeah.
So this wasn't exactly planned for.
Nope.
They have gone longer. Now it's 67.
Yep.
But they're going to make some changes. They have to.
Sure.
It's not going to be to anybody, in my guess, who's 55 and older probably. It's just going to be status quo. If you're on benefit, no changes.
No, could you imagine being the senator who represents the villages when that happens?
Who brings that to the table?
Listen, my constituents,
yes.
I've got some good news. Social Security is going to be more solvent. The bad news is your checks are cut in half. Yeah, that's never happening.
And we're just going to take a little bit at a time over the next 10 years until you're at 50%
No,
benefit.
It's these 20s and 30s like Finn and Ashley who are just going to be completely out of luck. Sorry,
but your full retirement age? 85.
Yeah.
So they're going to push out the full retirement age. And right now we're only being taxed on, it's going up next year to 139.7. I don't remember the number exactly.
Yeah.
On what we're being taxed. They're going to raise that. They have to. That has to be bigger than just increments. At one point they're going to say, okay, that's going to go to 150, and it's going to be scheduled for even more than that. So they collect more.
Yeah.
The trust fund has grown in the past few years, so it's actually larger than it's been because of the millennials that are now getting out of the basement. That wasn't politically correct. Getting to work, not politically correct. But they're paying in. They're a larger generation than the baby boomers. So they're paying in. So the trust fund has actually grown.
Right.
So Medicare is going to push out the retirement age. Medicare is going to tax for a longer period. Social Security will tax for a longer period of time, push out the retirement age. That'll be some of the changes.
Yeah.
They might even means test it. You enter a retirement with $5 million in assets. They might say
Warren Buffett isn't getting Social Security.
Thanks for paying
shouldn't
in.
be getting Social.
No Social
would be
Security
the theory there. I'm
not
saying Warren Buffett shouldn't get Social Security. Don't write me. Don't call me.
We love Warren Buffett.
Yeah, we love Warren Buffett and Jimmy Buffett. We like him a lot too.
A lot more.
And he shouldn't get Social Security either.
So that'll be the changes, but it's not going to impact anybody at or near Social Security.
Yeah, I mean, clients are. It's almost like a habit. People say, "Well, it's not going to be around,"
right?
Or, it is going to be around because again, if there's one thing they don't want as politicians is for those checks to stop coming to the people who vote, and those are the people who vote.
That demographic goes to the polls.
So those people are not going to get the short end of that stick for sure.
In the 8% roll up. You're not guaranteeing that to anybody in your office. I've never heard you tell any of your clients, especially, anybody, let alone somebody who's investing in a more conservative portfolio, I'll guarantee you 8% for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
I have heard you say
20%. Yeah. No, that's a joke. That's never going to make it. If you hear me say that, that means my compliance officer was asleep when I said that.
Because that's not going through compliance.
I'm just kidding.
What I have heard you say is take our money. Take the money you have with us.
Yes.
And get the 8% guarantee.
Yes. Yeah, I have said that.
I've heard you say it.
Yeah.
Take it from the portfolio that's not guaranteed to produce 8%. Yeah. Let the government give you the guaranteed 8%.
Well, that's kind of what was going to be my next question is talking about means. A lot of our clients, fortunately for them, are people of means. And we're not just talking to people of means, and I want to cover that as well. But if you're a person of means and you have an alternative source of income that can carry you and you're healthy and all the things are on your side, so not that any of us know what tomorrow brings, but if it looks like you're one of those people that might live into their 90s, which we know a married couple age 65, one of them is likely
someone's getting there.
Yeah, it's probably not the dudes.
Nope.
That's another story. Ladies. So if you do have the means to provide a different source of income outside of Social Security, like you said, I can't guarantee anybody's going to get a rolled up 8% on their investments, right? That'd be nice, and the last few years have been in that neighborhood, but that isn't going to go on forever. Whereas if they spend some of the money they have invested, assuming it's tax advantageous to them, they allow an 8% increase to their income for the rest of their lives, which could, as we just said, could be into their mid-90s.
Right, and when you factor in the COLA that Medicare puts on, I keep saying Medicare, the Social Security puts on somebody who's receiving benefit, the higher benefit gets a COLA, it's a bigger increase.
Sure.
So if you wait and you're putting a 1.6 on a higher benefit, it compounds differently.
Yep. Compound interest is a good thing there too.
Absolutely, the miracle of compounding. But we tell all people, if you have alternatives and you can let your Social Security benefit roll up, let it roll up.
Yep.
Now I meet with people that have no alternatives. They're like, I can't wait to turn 62. I need money. I'm broke. Easy decision. Turn it on.
Well, that's the other side of the equation, right?
Yep.
If you're a person who's not, for whatever reasons life has thrown at you, you don't quite have the basket of money some other person might have, and you need that money. Right. It's a pretty simple.
Exactly. You turn it on prior to full retirement age, which for somebody born in 1954 or earlier is age 66. You turn it on prior to then, you'll receive a permanent lifetime deduction.
Yeah.
But if you need the money, you just want to make sure that we're not confusing need with want.
Yeah, which is oftentimes a problem.
Often. And, you meet with somebody who's of full retirement age and they're trying to decide, do I go for the roll-up? I heard one guy say there's 3 stages of retirement. Go, slow go, and no go.
Yeah.
When do you want more money?
Yeah. Well, it's a good question. I'm not sure the answer to that.
I'm not sure everybody's answer is different.
Yeah.
Some people are, both my parents made it to the mid-90s, so I need to hedge against inflation. So I need to let that roll up for as long as possible. I don't have an 80-year-old in my tree.
Yeah.
There's not an octogenarian in the family.
Me neither yet.
So that doesn't mean I won't be, but that will weigh into the decision. It's all part of the equation.
Yeah, so again, if you're a person who needs the money, you need the money. If you're a person of means, then there's a conversation to be had with your planner, right?
Correct, absolutely.
One size certainly does not fit all.
Right, but just don't turn it on because it's going to not be there. That's never the reason.
That's silliness. Right. I mean, again, goes back to the conversation a lot of times I have with clients. I'm going to go on a tangent for a second here about stocks. I'll have a conversation and I'll say, I don't know if I should do this or should I own that, or listen. Most portfolios own names you recognize, AT&T, Procter & Gamble, Microsoft, Exxon, whatever it is. If you can explain to me a scenario where all of the top 100 companies, worldwide conglomerates, go out of business and we're not fighting over corn seed and gunpowder.
Right.
But you can't. That is a doomsday road warrior. Mel Gibson gets involved. It's really nasty.
Cigarettes and bullets.
Cigarettes and bullets. Smoke them if you got them. And the same is true of Social Security. If it's not going to be here, we got all kinds of other problems.
Right. Your last worry
if the country is insolvent, which we could have that's a whole nother podcast.
That's number 12.
Because that's right, podcast 12, coming to you in the insolvency of the U.S. government. If the government is insolvent for those purposes, right, then, again, we're fighting in the streets with sticks and fighting over apples.
100% correct.
Yeah.
Your last concern is whether
that's
you should have
silly.
turned your Social Security
Is it fair to say that's silly?
Silly.
Did you hear that? That's
I think we can get silly. Will silly get through some compliance?
Silly's okay still.
Okay.
Nobody seems to be offended by silly for now.
Yeah. But there are way better reasons to turn it on. I need the money. I want to go to Rome. I need the money now. I'm going to be in the go. Let's go. Give me the money. Let's roll. Yeah. That's a whole other decision.
But if you're going to Rome, I don't think. So I don't know if those two things. But,
overseas somewhere.
There's always the funny thing is I get these guys, and I say guys because they're typically guys that come to me and they're, I'm not going to live. I'm only going to live to be 64. I might as well. And then at 66, they're coming in and complaining about their income not being high enough. And at 68, they're complaining again. At 73, I'm like, but you told me.
Right.
12 years ago, you were going to be dead. I didn't do this. You did this.
You're in the bonus round.
You're supposed to be dead. So, so be careful, what you think. If you approach this with a pessimistic, Social Security is going to run out of money, or I'm going to be dead, don't make decisions solely on your, that grumpy morning you had.
I say it all the time. One of my favorites is when someone's talking about they'll be dead by then. I say, well, who wants to live to be 100, right? And they're like, who? Nobody. I'm like, 99-year-old.
Right.
So hold on.
Yeah, you never know. Well, that's extremely helpful. I think when you talk about age 65, you and I were talking about how we came to that age. I think there was a pension back in the 20s that FDR and his crew modeled Social Security after.
Right.
And as we just stated, they never really expected to pay anybody.
And I think the first person who went on Social Security lived to be like 100.
Yeah.
So they should have said, well, what if everybody does that?
Yeah, I'm sure that won't happen again.
No, he'll be the only one ever to do that.
But that when people get close to 65, because we've been programmed to think this way, they do think of Medicare. They do think of Social Security. And I'm actually surprised sometimes with clients that will come in and they're 65 or about to be 60, like in a day or a week or a month, and they haven't even begun. They're like, I should probably think about that.
And oftentimes that's somebody who's still working.
Yeah,
they have health
you're right.
insurance through work.
Yeah.
And they're like, I can just keep this, right? No penalties. And as a general rule, yes, you can keep employment health insurance, whether it's through your employment or your spouse, without ever worrying about getting any penalties, because you don't want Medicare's penalties because they're forever. Well, not forever till you die. Yeah. But you'll pay them forever. But that doesn't mean it's still the best option. I've had people that will leave employment plans and go to Medicare. Spouses way more often, because for example, if I'm on my wife's school board plan, I'm paying $900 a month. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to get to Medicare. Yeah. But she's zero. She pays nothing as a school teacher.
That brings up another point that I encounter a lot. Let's say that the husband is older and he's 65, he's on Medicare, the missus is 60. She wants to retire too because she's not letting him sit around the house doing nothing all by himself, because God knows what trouble he'll get into.
Yes.
So she wants to retire as well. And now but the insurance that she had is no longer valid, or worse yet, maybe they both retire before they're 65, and there's that gap. How do people address, because healthcare can be $20,000 a year, especially for an older person?
Depends upon the size of the gap, but in your scenario, a 5-year gap, then they are looking at most likely an Affordable Care Act plan.
Okay.
No underwriting, guaranteed issue, so they don't have to worry about pre-existing conditions or anything along those lines.
Right.
They're going to pay.
Yeah.
Because they are expensive, especially if you're coming off an employer-based plan where they're picking up all of my premium. Mm-hmm. Now I'm looking at $1,400 on an ACA plan.
Yeah.
That's a big variable.
Yeah.
To your point, many people are holding on. They're at work knowing that, okay, when I'm Medicare eligible, I'm out.
I got to stretch to 65.
I'm done.
Yeah, and that's part of the planning process.
Right. Gentleman in my office this morning, he retired at 65. His wife is 61, so she had to go ACA. She's paying $700 a month. For her Affordable Care
But I
Act
guess
plan.
To them it was worth it.
Yeah, they wanted to retire. He wanted to retire, and she was on his plan. I think she retired a number of years ago. So there are options there. COBRA can be an option.
I was going to ask about COBRA.
Yeah, that can be an option.
Can you explain COBRA real quick, just for people who don't?
COBRA is you're taking your current coverage that your employer offers with you.
Yeah.
You're paying the whole premium.
Yeah.
Plus typically a 2% increase for the handler of the COBRA, the administrator.
Gotcha.
So it's all you, same plan, all you. And then if you're on COBRA and your former employer decides to not offer health insurance anymore, your COBRA goes away.
Sweet.
They change plans, you get a new plan. So you're subject to whatever goes on at the office.
All right. Well, this is enlightening. I'm still somewhat confused, but I go through life that way, so you shouldn't feel bad.
Well, I can have you sit in on a couple of my hour and a half, 2-hour meetings.
No, I'm good.
No?
No.
I have access to your calendar. I'll book it.
Yeah, great. I look forward to that. More meetings, that's what I need. So thank you very much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
There's a whole audience of people out here who are watching, hopefully, the ScottCast, the podcast. Last count, there were 12 people watching, most of them in my family, but we're hoping to improve
I think
upon
I know
that.
all of them.
I don't like most of them, but that's another story. So, again, thank you. I hope this was helpful to people. And one of the things I want to get out there is that, Greg is at our office, our Huron office, Raymond James office, in College Park.
Yep.
And if they have questions, they can email us.
Call the office?
Yeah.
Sure, absolutely.
407-648-1881 is the office. And they can email you at greg.roessler
at raymondjames.com. Yep.
And in the meantime, again, it's been fun, and it's a complex topic, and I think people should seek guidance like yours if they get the chance.
Thank you, and I'm always happy to yak about Medicare and Social Security.
Hey, who isn't?